Hey everybody, it's me, it's Matty D. And it has been a long time since I have posted anything to this channel. I have had a lot going on. I've had a couple of bouts of illness. I've been working non-stop on my job when I'm not sick. About a week or two ago, well, I suppose it's just about a week ago now, my dog passed away as well, so I haven't really felt like doing any YouTube videos, but I'm back again today. I am going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of doing Matty D's Nitro Dream, we're doing, I don't know, Matty D Goes Extreme, because I am going to be reviewing, as well as Nitro obviously, WWE ECW. So obviously a lot of people know what WWE ECW is, and everybody knows what ECW is, of course. It was Extreme Championship Wrestling. It was a promotion that was kind of like probably around the level of Ring of Honor back whenever there was WWE, TNA and Ring of Honor. It was that kind of third promotion in the 90s to WWE and WCW, but ECW, it was categorized by these amazing, intense, hardcore battles. It had people such as Raven, the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, Rob Van Dam, Taz, Sabu. Chris Jericho was there, Lance Storm was there, just a big, massive roster of legends. But ECW, it was categorized by, it was kind of seen as the hardcore wrestling show. Angles were very adult in their execution. There was bad language. Every match was fought under extreme rules. There was lots of weapons brawling and insane spots with Sabu jumping off a stage through a table. Just a bunch of insane things. And ECW was run by Paul Heyman, who any wrestling fan knows who Paul Heyman is. But I didn't watch, a big amount of ECW because it was kind of before my time. I have went back and watched, things in the past. I've watched, thankfully the WWE Network is really, really good for having a lot of ECW onto there, and I really do like it. But what I'm going to talk about today and in future reviews as well is its episode reviews of WWE's version of ECW. So a very, very brief history of this. ECW, it had a big, massive cult following, but in 2002, 2003 kind of time, it basically folded forever. Paul Heyman, he was a bit of a dodgy businessman at the time. He got the company severely into debt, and it just got to a point where ECW wasn't able to run. But there was a lot of fans who adored ECW, and they really wanted to bring back Extreme Championship Wrestling. They've had a few, kind of independent reunion shows, but the biggest reunion by far was a WWE produced event, ECW One Night Stand, where the title says it says everything. They brought back a lot of ECW past wrestlers and had one single pay-per-view night where it was just devoted to basically saying goodbye to ECW. But this event, it's One Night Stand 2005, and it is, I would highly recommend watching it because it was an extremely entertaining pay-per-view. But it was such a big success that eventually the WWE decided that they were going to launch ECW as a third promotion. So they had a One Night Stand 2. They had a lot of big, massive angles. I'll probably cover the angles and the matches as I do this review. But it was a huge success, and it basically catapulted ECW into being a weekly television show. It's hard to say how I feel about it because I became a wrestling fan in 2004, so I missed all the good stuff of ECW, so I didn't really have that sadness in watching WWE basically just water down everything and turn the entire show into a developmental brand, basically. But things started off very hot. They had a great One Night Stand 2 pay-per-view. Rob Van Dam defeated John Cena to become the WWE Champion, which was a huge angle. And young me, who didn't know anything about ECW, kind of almost felt like wrestling was real. I knew it was fake, but I also really felt invested in it, which just doesn't happen anymore, sadly. And whenever Rob Van Dam won that WWE Championship, I thought WWE was basically out of business for this brand new company that was going to take over. And it took me a while. They had some co-produced events. Eventually Rob Van Dam lost the WWE Championship and ECW became a very exclusive thing. And over time I realised, yeah, this is not a threat. In fact, it's the opposite. But ECW in its WWE form, it had its good moments. It brought about the rise of CM Punk, who will feature heavily in these reviews, I'm sure. It brought up a bunch of new wrestlers like Kofi Kingston, Jack Swagger. My goodness, I hope it's not just two. I'm kind of stalling here already. My goodness. It brought about a lot of people. Christian had a really good run on there. Ezekiel Jackson was the last ever champion. The likes of Matt Hardy, Chavo Guerrero, even the Big Show, to be honest, finally got those big world title runs where they were basically treated as the main stars of the show. So it's just something that I thought I would do a bit of coverage for here, because I like wrestling YouTube where things are covered that aren't very much in your face. Like we're not hearing about, I don't know, about the invasion era of the Attitude Era over and over again, or we're not hearing about the fact that JBL punched Blue Meanie for a shoot at One Night Stand. We're just going for more obscure things, and WWE ECW is definitely obscure because it was deeply unpopular. Its ratings were around the level of TNA Impact after the first couple of shows, and it was kind of almost pushed aside eventually for NXT and a game show format. Everybody who knows what I'm talking about knows what I'm talking about, and everybody who doesn't, it'll take a long time to explain, but we'll get there. So that's kind of the reason why I'm doing this video, why I'm doing these reviews, and I am really, really looking forward to it because, like I say, it's such an unrepresented thing on YouTube, WCW. There's people that covered TNA back in the old days, like Mark ED. There's people who do WWE and AEW in the present. There's so many people that do that. So I just wanted to do something a bit new on here. So today I am covering the debut ECW show. We know it's WWE ECW, but from now on I'm just going to call it ECW because the other thing is a bit of a mouthful. So we start off the show. This is from the June 13th edition of ECW, and it is from Trenton, New Jersey. And unless I'm wrong, it was taped either before or after SmackDown. So ECW, they've already started to lose that exclusivity that, made the One Night Stand pay-per-views feel very special. The One Night Stand shows were, all the fans were there to see ECW wrestlers. They were there to revel in the extreme. They weren't there watching SmackDown and being basically forced to watch this other show that they didn't care about as much. But we've already started that trend here. There was some ECW house shows, but they stopped very quickly due to poor attendance, and we only ever had one other ECW exclusive pay-per-view, and boy, that was a bomb. But we will get to December to Dismember, don't you worry, even if it's in another 10 years' time. I'm so bad with uploading. So we start off the show here, which by the way got a 2.79 rating. John Cena was promised on this show. We've seen the fallout from One Night Stand. Edge was guaranteed to be there. Big Show and Kurt Angle had just joined, and everybody really, really wanted to see what they were getting up to. So this was a really good rating that even SmackDown, even Raw nowadays would kill to get. But things do go downhill from here. It literally goes downhill straight from the first episode. So we start off with a video package showing action from One Night Stand. We see a little bit of the Rey Mysterio versus Sabu World Heavyweight Championship match, which ended in a kind of controversial double disqualification, basically, when Sabu put Rey Mysterio through a table and both wrestlers weren't able to compete. I think they just wanted to keep SmackDown as SmackDown's own thing and didn't want to muddy the waters with all the world champions going to ECW, because obviously Rob Van Dam became the WWE champion at One Night Stand. We see highlights from Sabu versus Rey Mysterio, which I just mentioned. Highlights from Mick Foley and Edge and Lita, actually, versus Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, and Dreamer's wife. I don't want to butcher her name. It's Balua, something along those lines, which was an epic match that Foley, Edge, and Lita won. And We also seen coverage from the main event where Rob Van Dam wins his first ever World Championship, the WWE Heavyweight Championship, which he won after Edge interfered and speared John Cena in a really, really heated match where the crowd would have gone insane if John Cena had retained. So it was a big marquee moment for ECW. It was their way of saying, we're not going anywhere, we are going to be a big deal on this wrestling landscape. And it was a pretty perfect show. Not just as good as the first One Night Stand, but pretty much up there. So we start off here with, we show those highlights and we show Paul Heyman announcing that the controversial decision from One Night Stand will basically be kept in place because it was in an ECW ring, because Edge obviously speared John Cena, and then Paul Heyman came and counted the pinfall for Rob Van Dam. Young me at the time was convinced there was no way that they were going to give Rob Van Dam the WWE Championship after that, because to me it was just their way of sending the fans home happy, but that the decision would be reversed. But it wasn't, and Paul Heyman announced that John Cena would be on the debut edition of ECW on Syfy. So we have all that kind of, exciting us. We show off a new intro with Bodies Hit the Floor, which is an iconic theme song, really gets you amped up, showing lots of ECW wrestlers hitting moves on each other. They showcase their old stars like Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, the Sandman, and even have a spot for the FBI, which is pretty cool. And they show off the new ECW stars like The Big Show and Kurt Angle. So our commentators for the foreseeable future are Taz, who's came over from SmackDown because he's an ECW original, and Joey Styles, who's a huge ECW legend. He commentated on ECW for a long time. So it's a really, really cool setting, even though the show is clearly taped, in and around the SmackDown taping. They have a kind of brick wall entrance that ECW wrestlers come out from. They're a lot closer to the crowd as well than SmackDown or Raw would be, which probably was a recipe for disaster ultimately, because it's never too good an idea, to have fans easily accessing the wrestlers, but it was such a cool looking entrance. And Paul Heyman makes his entrance here, and Heyman introduces, he takes no time, he's not, the braggadocious heel Paul Heyman that we're used to. He's quite humble here as he introduces the new WWE Champion Rob Van Dam. And it's really weird because RVD comes out, he's smiling from ear to ear, and Paul Heyman hands Rob the title. Yes, Paul Heyman has the WWE Championship and he hands Rob Van Dam the WWE Championship. So Rob Van Dam, he's humble as well, even though there is some booze in here, because like I say, they are taped around a SmackDown show, and I would imagine that the SmackDown fans were, like me, they were kind of upset that John Cena, their hero, was defeated at One Night Stand. But RVD's very humble here. He thanks the fans. He says that he defeated John Cena the night before, or 2 nights ago, and like I say, he does get booed here. The RVD mocks John Cena for saying that he's going to show up tonight, and says that John Cena, if he's a man, will just join in the celebrations and not be angry at him or anything. So Paul Heyman has an extra surprise here for Rob Van Dam, and he unveils one of the most beautiful championships, the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. I love that belt. It is such a beautiful belt with the big red ECW letters on it. It looks so unique and different, and it really bugged me whenever they took it away and replaced it with like a silver piece of trash, really. So Rob Van Dam says that he doesn't actually want to give up the WWE Championship, and that this is basically the greatest honor of his career, and he doesn't want to lose either championship. He wants to cherish the brand new, well, with its previous lineage, obviously, ECW World Championship and the spinner belt, which Rob Van Dam kind of mocks the fact the belt spins, and doesn't say much more because at that point Edge's music hits. So Edge comes out here with Lita, his girlfriend at the time. They're a very, very over heel act. This is Edge he's just about to hit peak. He's just about to be at the very best of his career, the hottest in his career, the most over in terms of boos. Edge is just great here. And Heyman is joining in the loving. Edge is in good mood. Paul Heyman declares that Edge will be the #1 contender for the WWE title at Vengeance. Edge, he thanks Paul Heyman for inviting him to the show, says that he respects Rob Van Dam and that they have a lot in common because they obviously both cashed in their WWE Championship, or their Money in the Bank contract, against John Cena, and they both won the title with it. So Edge is very humble, very polite here, and I'm very surprised that RVD and Heyman trust him as much as they do. I suppose they're just grateful that he gave that he gave Rob Van Dam this big marquee title win. And ECW, this was a big marquee title win for ECW as well. So, and Edge has said that him and Rob Van Dam basically broke the glass ceiling, so they use those wrestling terms that everybody's well aware of. And they shake hands, everything's all good, but of course, Edge goes to leave and then turns around and hits RVD with a vicious spear. So the commentators are surprised. They thought that Edge was showing a lot of honour. Rob Van Dam and Heyman are obviously surprised because they let it happen. And it does make them look kind of silly as Edge leads through the crowd. It makes them look like they were very silly to trust Edge because he has such previous for being a backstabbing, ultimate opportunist, heel of all heels. So Edge tries to leave through the crowd, but he's interrupted by John Cena, who appears behind him. And Edge, he can't see John Cena, like you can't see me, the usual thing, for ages, but eventually Lita kind of spots John and they have a big fist brawl, which is mostly won by Cena. So John Cena throws Edge back into the ringside and starts banging his head against an announce table. Rob Van Dam, who's recovered from his spear, is really angry too, so he's kind of fighting Cena for the right to beat up Edge. Cena and RVD both kind of push each other off and they start getting up into each other. And Edge, just again, the ultimate opportunist, kind of pushes Rob Van Dam and Cena into each other. Low blows Rob Van Dam, which is awesome, and then leaves through the crowd. So a very fast-paced, very exciting start, and it's kind of climaxed by John Cena, all frustrated, just punching Paul Heyman and knocking him down to the floor before also leaving through the crowd. So the WWE guys, they don't want a part of the ECW roster. Some of that ECW roster runs out to check if Paul Heyman's okay and to save him from further attacks from John Cena, but Cena's away and it's a bit too late for the kind of lower card ECW guys. So after the break, Paul Heyman and RVD are backstage with said low carders. There's Tommy Dreamer, who I'm a big fan of. I love Tommy Dreamer in WWE ECW. I don't know if he's the best person in the world these days from what I've heard, but I was a big fan of him back then anyway. There's Little Guido, who was Nunzio in WWE. There's Tony Mama Luke, Stevie Richards, and Balls Mahoney. Paul Heyman tells these amped up wrestlers that they are going to be on Monday Night Raw, and they start like an EC dub chant together, and the segment ends. So it's very good stuff. Paul's kind of mobilizing the minions and also hyping up what's going to be happening next week on Raw. All that cross promotion, which is a great thing to have on WWE ECW, because it, as much as people think it desecrated the Extreme Championship Wrestling, it did. But at the same time, it was a WWE property. They always were going to try to use that to kind of help their bottom line. So there is that synergy with Raw and SmackDown and ECW that ultimately kills the show and kills that ECW vibe, but I get why they did it. So anyway, it is time for an iconic segment. There is some chilling organ music, and out to the ring comes the ECW Zombie. I love this segment, but it was such a bad idea. As much as I love this segment, it just straight away, it was WWE's way of mocking the network that they're on, which seems ridiculous because these are the people by then, network right fees were the bread and butter of WWE, and obviously nowadays they're even more so. The network fees is all that matters. So it's kind of making fun of your network, and it's just a very silly character. So they announced this is going to be a match again. It's desecrating this new show already because this is the very first match of the new ECW. So the zombie comes out, he just does that grunting and that kind of groaning with his arms out. He literally acts like a zombie, which is just absolutely insane. Joey Styles hates this promo. He calls it laughable, but we don't have to kind of endure it long because it's not long until the Sandman's music hits. I love the Sandman. I love the entrance. I love the theme song. I love the, you know, the crowd interaction that entrance provides. And it sets the Sandman apart from everybody else, and it's a bit of a shame. I don't know what his career was like in ECW, but it's a bit of a shame for me at this stage, because Sandman he's kind of washed, you know, he's kind of just finished basically. You know, he's such a cool presentation, but whenever he gets into the ring, there's not much more than, I'm going to hit you with some weapons, and maybe that's all Sandman ever was. I'm not sure about that, but if Sandman could have even put in some passable wrestling, he would have been such a star back then, because that entrance is money, and the guy's look is money, and his attitude is money. He is great. So the Zombie's ready for his match. The Sandman makes himself bleed with a beer can before the match, and it's only going to go one way, this. The Zombie still keeps in his zombie form as Sandman makes his way into the ring. Sandman with his Singapore cane hits the Zombie with such a whack to the head that the Zombie is straight away floored. Couple of Singapore cane shots later, a White Russian leg sweep, and Sandman has won the first ever ECW WWE television match in an absolute landslide. And he kind of beats the Zombie to the back and then has a good laugh about it afterwards. So like I say, I love the Zombie. I think it's just classic bad wrestling. I like the Sandman as a, you know, as a character and as an entrance and everything like that, but he just kind of couldn't go by this stage. So the segment, you know, in a way it's really bad and in a way it's really good, but certainly for the time, this was not a good way to launch ECW. It just didn't work. So I'm not going to give that a match rating or anything, because it really wasn't a match. In fact, originally, before watching the show again today, I completely forgot it was a match and thought it was just a normal kind of run-of-the-mill segment, but it was a match. So Sandman wins the very first ever WWE ECW match. So after the break, we show a random lady in a kind of corset dress thing backstage. The lady says her name is Kelly and she is an exhibitionist, and it starts getting very uncomfortable for me by that stage. And Kelly says that she is going to take off all of her clothes tonight and kind of like pushes her bosom together. This obviously is Kelly, who became Divas champion, who still makes appearances to this day. It certainly hasn't aged well, all these Kelly segments, you know, kind of like teasing that she's going to show boobs on TV, you know, it really doesn't work for me. I don't know what more else to say about it. She's very pretty, and later on Kelly became very talented in the ring, and I've heard a couple of times she's a really nice lady. You know, she goes to conventions and things now still, and a lot of people really like her, and she's really sweet and polite and friendly with everybody. But oh boy, this was a bad way to debut her. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to send this message that this new ECW is going to be, it's going to be hardcore. There's going to be a bit of bad language. There's going to be weapons. There's going to be ladies showing off their goods. But I don't know. It's hard to say. But anyway, we'll talk more about Kelly later on. So we have a quick recap here of Jelly Lawler versus Kelly. Jelly versus Kelly. A recap of Jerry Lawler versus Taz at One Night Stand. There's a very audible, you know, kind of homophobic, "you suck dick" chant at Lawler, who's extremely smug here. But Lawler, he approaches Joey Styles on the commentary booth, who's there by himself, because this is Lawler, like I say, versus Taz, who will be commentating on the One Night Stand show. So Lawler goes up and kind of smacks around Joey Styles and acts like a big bully, and he makes his way to the ring, and Taz looks absolutely livid. You know, if looks could kill, Taz would have Lawler dead by this stage. But this is Taz's first match, I believe, since 2002, whenever he was in that tag team with Spike Dudley. And Taz, obviously, we know Taz, he's on AEW Dynamite now, and he's very well thought of as a manager, but Taz, because of injuries, just can't go even in 2006. So we know this isn't going to be a long match, and we're right, because as soon as the bell rings, Joey Styles, from out of nowhere, leaps on top of Jerry Lawler. Lawler, he can't sell for Styles. He's not JBL, wouldn't be believable. And Lawler kind of throws Joey Styles off of him and goes to hit the pile driver, but Taz is right there and locks in that Taz mission, and Lawler just drops down. They do the whole, 1, 2, 3 deal, and that is it. That is the match over. Taz is the winner. So that was great to see, I guess. I don't know why they needed to show that, especially on a show that's going to be quite tight for time here. But we then cut to the ring, and Kurt Angle makes his entrance with his brand new edited theme that kind of cuts out the "you suck" parts of the chant, because again, WWE want to show that ECW is different from WWE, that it's more serious, that Kurt's going to be less comedic, he's going to be more of a wrestling machine, more of a killer. And I just, I know from being a fan at the time, and this is why I've chose to cover WWE ECW in more detail, I know from being a fan at this time that Kurt Angle's time in WWE itself and ECW is very, very short by this phase, so I want to enjoy Kurt Angle while he's here. They show a recap of Kurt Angle defeating Randy Orton at One Night Stand, and then Just Incredible comes to the ring, and this is not a good start for the ECW originals in the brand new ECW TV show. So Just Incredible comes out, and Kurt Angle straight away starts strong with a takedown on Incredible. Angle is very intense. He's bullying Justin around, kind of slapping him and hitting punches in various holds. Kurt Angle dodges Credible's attack and hits a German suplex and just throws Credible out of the ring like a piece of trash. It's really brutal to watch here. Just Incredible, I don't think he's ever been anybody's, favourite wrestler in the world, and he wasn't mine either, to be honest with you. Aside from his name, I love his name. I think it's really, really clever, but Credible is such a jobber here. Treated like such a jobber, sorry. I don't think it's, these men put their lives into this sport, into this business, so it's not fair to refer to them as jobbers all the time, but that's what Credible is in this role here. So Kurt Angle throws Credible straight over his head onto the floor. Just Incredible kind of flares up and gets angry and pushes Kurt Angle, but Kurt Angle just plants Credible with a headbutt straight back. Taz says that we've never seen that from Kurt Angle before. We've never seen Kurt Angle be so intense that he hits a head on somebody. A headbutt, sorry, I'm thinking football terms here. So Kurt's just so intense here. He locks in a rear naked choke, and that's the win. That's it. Over. Just Incredible is done here. I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. It does what it's supposed to do. It's a squash. It's meant to make Kurt Angle look intense and good, and boy does it make him look good. But after the match, Kurt Angle cuts a promo basically on Randy Orton, who has challenged Angle to a WWE rules match at Vengeance, because Orton claims the only reason why he lost to Kurt Angle was because it was Extreme Rules. Really good heel work from Randy Orton. What more would you expect? Kurt Angle says that he doesn't care what the rules are, whether they're WWE, ECW, or no rules. He is going to take Randy Orton out at Vengeance because Angle is the new face of ECW. Sorry about that. So after that, we then have a Paul Heyman promo backstage. Heyman promises to show us Extreme tonight. Heyman has dropped his plans for tonight. He basically rewrote the card, whatever it was supposed to be, and is now going to have 10 of ECW's best in the ring for an Extreme Battle Royal tonight, where all weapons are legal. This is a good match. I love Battle Royals. I'm excited for this one. It sounds really interesting. The winner of this match has the award of facing John Cena at Vengeance, and will also join Paul Heyman whenever ECW invades Raw next week. So that is very exciting. It's a good prize, a match against the guy in WWE right now in 2006, John Cena, and the guy who's going to be the guy for further, I don't know, like 10, 15 years. Anyways, Kelly is back, and Kelly is promising that up next, she is going to show us all of her assets. Okay. After the break, we show the ECW Tonight sign, the big LED Tonight's stadium showing ECW, and watching the sign, just staring at it, is a vampire kind of baring his teeth I'm sure you don't want to see my disgusting teeth ever again. This vampire is Kevin Thorne, who had a very brief run as Mordecai in 2004 over on SmackDown before he very quickly kind of got demoted again after being involved in a bar fight. So this is another chance for Kevin Fertig, who later, who is Kevin Thorne by this stage. And I'm excited to see his matches. I was a bit of a kind of a guilty pleasure. I really kind of liked Kevin Thorne back in 2006, which I should be ashamed of for saying, because obviously, he's not many people's favourite or anything, but I liked him and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. I think, obviously Kevin Thorne destroyed his own opportunity to do well as as Mordecai, but it still is a shame that didn't develop more and flesh out more, if that kind of makes sense. Like, it's a shame, but it's his fault. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, even though it looks like they're making fun of the Syfy channel even more. They've had a zombie, they've had a vampire. Next week, I think they have somebody crazy as well. So, I don't know. If I was a Syfy executive, I would be a bit offended, to be honest with you. So Taz and Joey Styles seem kind of bemused. They're not taking things very seriously. And they recap the Edge, RVD, and John Cena showdown from the start of the show. I love recaps. They're really good. But in a tight, 1 hour show, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, it cuts down a match maybe potentially, or a couple of extra minutes of in-ring action, but I know why they're there, and WWE utilize them to this day. So Justin Roberts introduces Kelly to the ring. Well, not really the ring. She kind of has like her own, I don't know, like stripper den, like strip club thing on the stage. And when Kelly's making her way over to the stage, Taz kind of sarcastically declares that the new breed of ECW is unleashed. He is very, very sarcastic here. I already think that Taz is kind of thinking, what is this show? This is not going to work, which is very depressing that halfway through your first show, Taz already has realised that the entire thing is a bust. It's a bit of a shame. So Kelly, she dances very horribly. There is a funny story I've heard before on Bruce Pritchard's podcast where the WWE signed Kelly as basically as an exhibitionist, as a dancer, as a performer. But Kelly, who had been, I think, picked out of basically a lingerie catalogue by John Laurinaitis, had no experience of dancing. And there's a very funny story where Vince McMahon starts showing, Kelly says she doesn't know how to dance, and Vince says, oh, it's easy, pal, you just do this, and starts doing a dance. And I don't really like hearing these stories about, Vince, like John Laurinaitis signing up like a younger lady to, from a catalogue, and Vince McMahon hanging out with her and showing her things, obviously because of what we know now about Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis and all those accusations that have came out. So it's kind of a bit, it certainly takes the edge out of a fun story, So Kelly dances kind of horribly here. She takes off her skirt and she has like underwear on underneath, and then Kelly takes off her corset and she has a bra on underneath, so she's in her bra and panties and all that there. And you can tell the commentators don't know what to do. Joey Styles says that he's certainly not going to be saying puppies like Jerry Lawler does whenever he's kind of lusting over the women on WWE television, and it's just a bit awkward. And Kelly turns her back around and she very awkwardly kind of struggles with her bra and takes it off, and then I can't believe I'm describing this in a wrestling show review, but what can we do? So Kelly, she has her boobs like this and she kind of covers them and dances a bit more and then leaves. So she promised to bear everything, but Kelly didn't really bear anything, and thank goodness, obviously, we weren't going to see that, and I'm kind of glad we didn't see it. And I know, like I say, I know what they're trying to do with this Kelly thing, but it's kind of a weird segment. It's kind of objectifying, and I don't know. Less said about that, the better. But anyway, Tommy Dreamer now makes his way to the ring because it is hardcore battle royal time, extreme battle royal time, and Sabu's theme starts, and he very slowly comes out as we cut the commercial break. So this is the Extreme 10-man Battle Royal. There is Tommy Dreamer versus Stevie Richards versus Roadkill versus Al Snow versus Little Guido versus Tony Mamaluke versus Balls Mahoney versus Big Show versus Danny Doring. Let me see here. That is 6. Yeah, that's 10 wrestlers, because I mean, I'll get to this in the review. And Big Guido comes out with the FBI, you know, Little Guido and Tony Mamaluke, but he's not announced as being in the match, but later on he kind of behaves as if he is in the match. So I don't know what happened there. That would make an 11-man battle royal. But anyway, there are weapons surrounding the ring here as Big Show basically destroys everybody to start off the match. He beats up some kind of run away under the ropes out of fear. Some Big Show kind of sends under the ropes, you know, the middle rope, the bottom rope, any way to eliminate them from the ring without actually eliminating them from the match. The Tommy Dreamer, the innovator of violence, whacks Big Show with a metal sign, and it literally has no effect on the Big Show, who kind of slaps Tommy Dreamer as... Oh, I'm covering completely something else. I'm sorry, I'm covering a bit later on here. Yeah, Big Show sends a lot of wrestlers out of the ring. We cut to the break after Big Show kind of impressively throws Roadkill out of the ring, and Roadkill rolls under the bottom rope. So nobody's been officially eliminated here. And after the break, we're all back in the ring. As I said there, Tommy Dreamer now hits Big Show with a metal sign to no effect. He gets the, you know, chest slap in the corner, as everybody just kind of hits each other with sheets of metal and trash cans. It's trash can lids. It's very... I like hardcore matches, but this is just men hitting each other really hard with big sheets of metal. So there's not too much to it here to start us off with. Balls Mahoney hits the Big Show with a trash can lid, and there is literally no effect to it. Everybody's trying to take out Big Show here. Everybody's feeling. Big Show looks great. Sabu sets up a table on the outside and goes back into the ring as everybody kind of starts ganging up on Big Show with weapons all at the same time. You know, they're all basically trying to get rid of Big Show so they can fight amongst themselves. So Big Show just looks like an absolute beast here. Everybody's trying to take him out, and things only get better. The Big Show eliminates Al Snow straight away, then Danny Doring, who never really did very much in this version of ECW. Big Show lifts Stevie Richards in a choke bomb position and just tosses him out of the ring, and then eliminates Roadkill with the greatest of ease. And Roadkill is a big man, and by the way, this is a somewhat genuine question. Is Roadkill Amish or something? Because Joey Styles says it's not a long horse and buggy ride back to Lancaster, wherever that is. So it seems like Roadkill's gimmick is that he's an Amish man. He's very big, very bearded. He wears a kind of bizarre looking suit to the ring. But anyway, that's a bit of a segue there. Big Show makes very, very short work with him. So this is just, you know, it's just a Big Show showcase. No pun intended here. Balls Mahoney is next. He gets put into a camel clutch choking position and just gets absolutely destroyed, thrown through a trash can. It's an insane spot here. And then Big Show just eliminates Balls with the greatest of ease afterwards. Tommy Dreamer has a good go at Big Show here. Tommy hits him with a bunch of weapon shots with I think it's a stop sign. He just hits Big Show again and again and again in these hard shots, but it just does not work. You know, Big Show he's not dead as you would be if you got hit constantly by weapons. Sabu kind of runs up Tommy Dreamer's back and hits that leg attack, you know, jumping leg attack on Big Show in the corner, but Show no-sells it basically and just tosses Sabu almost out of the ring. Sabu escapes elimination by the skin of his teeth here, and I think that will come into play very soon. So Sabu's the only person Show's failed to eliminate so far. Big Show lifts Tommy Dreamer up and just throws him brutally. You know, he lifts him up in a military press and just tosses Dreamer right through the table on the outside that Sabu had set up to eliminate Tommy Dreamer. Then it's, you know, by that stage, it's 6 eliminations the Big Show's had in the 10-man Battle Royal, which is insane. So Big Show challenges the FBI, but he makes really, really short work of Little Guido and Tony Mamaluke. He really, you know, makes them look like rag dolls. Big Show chokeslams Nunzio into Little Guido. Or sorry, yeah, no, sorry. Big Show chokeslams Nunzio into Tony Mamaluke, then eliminates them both for 8 eliminations. The only people Big Show hasn't eliminated by this stage is Sabu, and if he's in the match, Big Guido, because like I'm about to cover here, Big Guido wasn't announced, but Big Show just eliminates him with the greatest of ease anyway, just to make it a nice 9. But there's a problem here. There's a way out, because Big Guido kind of hangs on to Big Show's arm and starts pulling him down like Chris Benoit in the Royal Rumble, although Guido has been eliminated here. And Sabu just comes from nowhere. He sets up a chair, runs back into the ropes, climbs up onto the chair, has another chair in his hand, and just whacks Big Show in the back with a chair to eliminate Big Show. Wow, it's a great showcase for Big Show. He's eliminated, if you count Big Guido, 9 people in this match, and Sabu is the only other person with 1 elimination, but that elimination wins the match for him. It's a really cool finish. It's very creative. It keeps Big Show strong as hell, because if Big Guido hadn't, grabbed onto his arm after being eliminated, there wouldn't have been an issue here. But it's a nice win for Sabu. Sabu will go on to take on John Cena at Vengeance, which is a really good underrated match. I might have to cover it. But the rest of the roster in this match just looks like such jokes. The FBI were destroyed in about 30 seconds by the Big Show, who had been beaten black and blue all match long and should be tired in theory from eliminating 6 other people by that stage. It doesn't look great for the ECW originals. They've just kind of been steamrolled over by Big Show here, and Just Incredible obviously lost to Kurt Angle earlier on the night. But it was a fun match. If you ignore the damaging booking aside, I would give it an 8 out of 10 probably. It was very creative. I like seeing somebody completely dominate a big battle royal. Usually everybody kind of has their own spots and has a bit of has a few downs and with those ups, but instead for Big Show it's just constant up and up and up and up until the end. So it was a very entertaining match and a good way to start off the show and try to show everybody what ECW is all about, and it's what it should be about. It should be about weapons, it should be about extreme, it should be about, wrestlers competing and fighting for chances and stars. Maybe not so much about kind of just poorly done nudity, to be honest with you, with the whole Kelly thing. But it was a really good episode, and Styles and Taz just kind of hype up ECW coming to Raw as the show ends. So that was WWE ECW, the very first episode from June 13th, 2006. I have blabbed on long enough. I have sweated long enough. I am absolutely dying. It's so warm in Northern Ireland right now. It's probably about, 75 Fahrenheit, so a lot of American people will laugh at that and say, what on earth are you moaning about? But trust me, here it is very, very warm. We have no air conditioning here. But thank you very much, everyone, for checking out this video. I hope you'll enjoy me reviewing ECW. I hope to, to kind of do it in conjunction with my WCW videos. But I feel like this is very undercovered on the internet. This product and this show, and a lot of people forget about it, so I'm looking forward to covering, but hopefully not in such long form, because I'm sure very few people have got to the end here. But thank you very much for checking me out. Good start to ECW. Shouldn't have made fun of the network. The matches were, I don't know, like the Sandman versus the Zombie was rough. Kurt Angle versus Just Incredible, it did what it needed to do. But on, that match, very short squash match, on top of the Sandman squash match, it was a bit too much squash match action and a little bit, not enough main event action. And obviously the angle at the start of the show with Rob Van Dam, John Cena and Edge, even though WCW is completely brand new, that's where the money is, that match. So I can't say too much against it. But thank you very much for checking out my video, everybody. Sorry about the cut in the middle, and I hope to see you all again soon, okay? Thank you. I'm now going to down a bottle of water here.